You know, there are so many interesting things to see and do here in Central Florida without ever going anywhere near a theme park. There's a lot of interesting history, there's some great stories, and there's some weird stuff too. So come on, let's take a trip around Central Florida's neighborhoods. Let's take a road trip. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Phil Hoffman and welcome to Central Florida Road Trip. Today we're going to make a stop in the city of Sanford. Known as the historic waterfront gateway city, Sanford sits on the southern shore of Lake Monroe, a major port on the St. Johns River, and currently has a population of about 55,000 residents. Now, many may not be aware of the fact that through the years, Sanford played a major role in helping to shape Central and South Florida's history.
I think Sanford, in the big picture of things, has been a key to developing Central Florida just because it was the first place that people could come to Central Florida by the river.
The city is here because it's on the southern shore of Lake Monroe, and Lake Monroe was the head of navigation on the St. Johns River in the 19th century. There was a fort here in 1837. Fort Mellon was built here during the Second Seminole War, and the town called Mellonville grew up around the fort. And in 1869, Henry Sanford, our city founder, and his wife Gertrude came on a riverboat on the St. Johns. He was seeking investments in Florida. He decided to look into land possibilities here.
Henry Sanford makes his fortune during the Civil War making brass. His family had a brass factory in New England, which did okay. But then the Civil War comes and the demand for brass just explodes, and he moves to Florida after the Civil War and starts a community in Sanford and tries to turn it into the citrus capital. He is probably the father of the citrus industry in Florida.
Sanford is right on the river, and his goal was to develop citrus crops, and he developed the Valencia orange, which still is a popular one today. Soon, they started developing other agricultural crops, and the celery became the main one. And Sanford had that nickname for many years, the Celery City, because it was the #1 packing house for celery in the world at the time.
The town was designed as the gate city of South Florida. It was intended to be a harbor with Lake Monroe, with the riverboats coming in, linking to Jacksonville for an easy entrance into South Florida. Very early on, Henry Sanford worked with Henry Plant to build the railroad to Tampa. So while Orlando was south of us, our connections were from river to the railroad to Tampa, then you could go to Key West and Havana, places like that.
Well, at one time it was bigger than Orlando or anywhere else in Central Florida because that was where the steamboats would come down. That's as far as they could go. So within a few years after Mr. Sanford bought the property, Sanford did become the transportation hub with both rail and water transportation.
South Florida, and what's now known as Central Florida, was opened up by the St. Johns River. It's that river traffic and the connection to the train that brought people here.
Following the World War, the city of Sanford began a massive bulkhead project along the shoreline, partly to help flooding along Lake Monroe and also to create land development opportunities. Now, one of the first big construction projects that was built almost 100 years ago is still standing.
As they were building the bulkhead, a man who happened to be the mayor of the city, named Forrest Lake, decided to put some investors together and build a hotel on this new waterfront. And the hotel opened in 1924. The hotel was named Hotel Forrest Lake for the man who had built it. And it was a luxury hotel meant to attract tourists to this area with stories of yachting on Lake Monroe and fishing and hunting. So it was this wonderful hotel, but it didn't do very well, probably in part because Forrest Lake was sent to prison for embezzling money. and kind of ended his career. So the hotel fell on hard times, and it changed hands many times. Eventually, the Kirchhoff family owned it for a while.
In 1934, my father made a deal with the city of Sanford to reopen this as a hotel. It was a little unusual growing up in a hotel like this. It was the largest hotel in Central Florida. It was the social scene of Sanford. It was a highlight of the social season is what the hotel was. And it was a big economic factor in the town. There were a lot of people employed that were here at the hotel, and a lot of people came through the town because of this facility, yes, sir.
The Mayfair Inn was the winter retreat for actresses like Tallulah Bankhead and Wendy Berry, as well as a noted author.
Probably the most famous one that stayed here was Thornton Wilder. He was in the dining room, and I was just a little kid. My parents said, hey, that's Thornton Wilder, leave him alone, don't bother him. Of course, what did I do? I had to go over there and bother him.
It's said that Wilder wrote one of his classics, The Ides of March, in the dining room at the Mayfair Inn.
In 1947, the New York Giants bought the hotel.
And the Giants would use it to house their scouts and press, and sometimes even players. The Giants were now calling the Hotel Forest Lake the Mayfair Inn, and they made it into a more modern luxury hotel. So they updated the furnishings and the lobby and updated everything. Now, at the same time, they made a deal with the city to run what was known as the Sanford Country Club, the golf course. Because the Giants were now calling the Hotel Forest Lake the Mayfair Inn, they called the country club the Mayfair Golf Course or Mayfair Country Club. And they had major golf tournaments at this country club.
You had players like Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, Gene Sherrod, Jules Bro. Arnold Palmer got his first check as a pro here at Mayfair. Ben Hogan said that a hole number 4 was one of the hardest holes he ever played without a bunker.
Stanley Davenport also used to caddy at Mayfair, and one day got the surprise of a lifetime.
The pros used to come through here in the 50s and 60s, and one day I was caddying, and after I finished caddying, after the pros finished playing, Gene Saracen walked up to me and gave me his putter, and this is the putter I use today still.
To be able to be around that type of atmosphere. I was around the Giants a lot, the Minnesota Twins and all of them came down here, and they played out here at Mayfair. Yogi Bear, Willie Mays, and all of them played out here.
Prior to the New York Giants, Sanford was part of a much different aspect of baseball, as this was supposed to be the place where the color barrier was broken in baseball.
Well, in the year when Branch Rickey decided he was going to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball, he brought Johnny Wright and Jackie Robinson to Sanford. Reporters from all over the country came and saw Wright and Robinson at this ball field and at the practice field next door. Robinson was interviewed all over the country, but not in Sanford, not in Florida.
And you have to remember that back at that time it was Jim Crow. And in the South, no hotel that catered to whites could let anybody of another black stay in a hotel. If you did, then the state would take away your license to be a hotel. So you were forced to segregate. That was the law of the land. So what my father had to do was find a place for Jackie Robinson and his other player to stay. There was a gentleman in town named D.C. Brock. And D.C. Brock lived in a house between 6th and 7th Street on the west side of Sanford Avenue. So my father went to D.C. Brock, and they were friends, and asked D.C. if Jackie Robinson and this other gentleman could stay with them while they were here in the town. And that's what they did.
The story as we have it from Robinson and from reporters who traveled with him is that someone came to the Brock home and implied a threat to both Robinson and Wright, basically told Mr. Brock that they needed to leave. Branch Rickey, not wanting to cause waves apparently, put them in a car and drove them to Daytona, and that is where the color barrier was broken in baseball. What many people don't know is the team came back a couple of weeks later, and Robinson took the field, played 3 innings, and then someone called the police, and Robinson was removed from the game.
He played 3 or 4 innings and had no problem. The game was fine, everybody was there, and then they come on and tell him, sorry, we by court order, we have to take you off the field. It was a shame. Then went to Daytona, and Sanford gets kind of a back mark because they made him leave, but that's the way the times were, unfortunately.
These 2 visits have been conflated into one incident. Even in the movie 42, there's some confusion on this.
I was at the game when Jackie Robinson played. Sanford has gotten a bad rap by the movie, but Sanford was the first place where Major League Baseball color barrier was broken. That's the way the story should be told.
The house where Jackie Robinson stayed in Sanford is still standing on Sanford Avenue, just west of downtown. Sanford has a rich sports history with a number of notable athletes being born there. Like Tim Raines, who was recently voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. David Eckstein was the 2006 World Series MVP as the St. Louis Cardinals beat the Detroit Tigers. Tennis Hall of Famer Jim Courier was born right here in Sanford and went on to the #1 ranking in the world for 58 weeks in the early 90s. And also the guy on the right in this picture, Drew Boudini Brown. You might recognize the other guy in the photo. Yep, that's Muhammad Ali.
Drew Brown, who was Muhammad Ali's cornerman, he was born in Midway and lived in Sanford. And when he was 13 years old, he was so big he was able to get into the Navy. They didn't realize how young he was. And after a couple years, when he was 15, they found out, and I guess they basically got him out. But then somehow he hooked up with Muhammad and got in the cornerman, and probably Muhammad Ali's most famous saying was, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee," was actually written by Drew Boudini Brown. Ali may have said it, but it was Drew that wrote it and gave it to him.
In the early years, the Sanford area was mostly agricultural, but all that changed in the 1940s with the threat of war on the horizon.
One of the big stages of development in Sanford's history was when the Naval Air Station, and that's where the property is now that the Orlando Sanford International Airport sits.
We had young men from all over the country being brought in here to train to fly in the Pacific. So the station was extremely important in World War II. When the war ended, the Navy closed it for the time being. And the New York Giants arrived and said, we'd really like to use that space for a spring training for our minor league teams. So at one point in the late 40s, we had the largest spring training camp for minor league in the country. Well, that was fine until we went to Korea. So in 1951, the Navy informed the Giants that they had 30 days to get off of the station because they were coming back.
Back in the day, in the Navy circle, this base was called the best kept secret because everybody loved being stationed here. It was commissioned in 1942, November. It makes this year its 75th anniversary. In World War II, they say that 50% of the fighter pilots in the Pacific trained here. This was a hopping place. I mean, everybody loved being stationed here.
And as the 50s went on, it transitioned into a Cold War base. And it became a reconnaissance and intelligence gathering station. So the planes were fitted out here for the pilots and the crews to take them into enemy territory. For that reason, we had a high proportion of the POWs, people who were shot down over North Vietnam, were from our station because they were gathering intelligence in an unarmed plane. The station was here through most of Vietnam. It closed in '69. The city used it for civil aviation. The city bought it from the Navy. And in the 1980s, early 1990s, some charter companies from Great Britain expressed an interest in bringing flights in for package tours to Disney World and the other attractions. And all of a sudden, we had an international air terminal and an international airport.
At the entrance to the Sanford Airport is a memorial to honor the history and legacy of Air Station Sanford.
This is an RA-5C Vigilante, the last type of aircraft that was stationed here at NAS Sanford when they closed the base in 1969. We got it out of China Lake, California to bring it back to Sanford. It was an 18-month restoration, and we had about 50 to 75 volunteers. Right now we're restoring a PV-1 Ventura that will go in the terminal when they're finished, and that's going to be like a bookend because that is the actual first aircraft that was here, and this is the last type aircraft that's here, so we bookend the history of Sanford.
Most of us are familiar with the Central Florida Zoo in Sanford, but what you may not know is that it all got started in the old Sanford Fire Department.
The zoo started when the fire department, which would have to go out and rescue things, ended up with a monkey and maybe a few other things, and so they had this little menagerie of stuff, and it turned into the Sanford Zoo. It had apes, it had mandrills, it had bears, it had lions, and it had a big monkey island. And Monkey Island was the big attraction, and there was an island, and there was a moat, and there was a wall around it. And the monkeys would stay on the island because they didn't want to get in the water. And in the water were these big giant goldfish. This was a big time deal to come to see all the animals in the Sanford Zoo. There was a lion in a cage. Of course, the lions are always named Leo. And so Leo, he was an old circus lion that retired, so there he was in the zoo. And Leo didn't have any teeth after a while, and he didn't really have any claws. And in the summertime, it was pretty hot down there. So the city jail was right next to the zoo. They'd bring Leo in there, and Leo would lie down next to the desk because there was an oscillating fan that would help keep Leo cool. And so here you have the scene. Here's the booking officer there with his desk with Leo next to it. And on Friday nights, the police would arrest some people who'd been out drinking too much, and they'd bring them into the police station, and they're sitting there for getting booked into the jail, and they look over and there's this lion on the floor, and it sobered some of them up.
The very first cemetery in Sanford was started by a local undertaker. And of all the residents that are laid to rest in Lakeview Cemetery, all are human. Well, except one.
Lakeview Cemetery was created by Mr. Miller, whose family horse was named Bob. Bob was a gray horse who pulled the family buggy, but he also pulled the hearse. And stories in town were that Bob took everybody to the cemetery. And this is at a time when the cemetery was segregated, but Bob took everybody to the cemetery. Mr. Miller was the only undertaker. And when he died, Mr. Miller, because it was his personal cemetery, he decided to bury Bob in the cemetery. And in the city records, it simply says Bob, and in parentheses, it says horse. So we put up an exhibit here in the museum about Bob, because when he died, he was so popular and well known that they put his obituary in the paper and explained about his service to the family and to the town. And we also have his original headstone on display here at the museum with his obituary and a photo of him at the end of his life. One of the unique things about Bob's headstone, the one that we have now, is it replaced the original one that was damaged. And what people will notice is it is on Hardy Avenue, which is the entrance to the cemeteries, and it faces out, and it is the only headstone facing out of the cemetery, and it is by itself. He's facing where he worked. He's facing the road, and he's, in some ways, I guess, there greeting the people who are being brought to the cemetery.
Old Bob lived to be 28 years old. Thanks for being with us on this edition of Central Florida Road Trip, and join us next time as we continue to discover our tradition-rich history that still surrounds us all today, right here in Central Florida. I'm Dr. Phil Hoffman, and we'll see you next time on Central Florida Road Trip.